Sometimes there's this tendency to dismiss or overlook New York City youth gangs from the 40s and 50s. They're only kids, right? The gangs from the 50s, they aren't like the gangs from today. They only used sticks and bats. They didn't use guns. Or so some people think. Well, today you're going to learn about some injuries between two gangs from Harlem called the Sabers and the Slicksters. Bishops, chaplains, viceroys, dragons. These are two examples of epic rivalries among New York City youth gangs from the 1940s and the 1950s. Think of them as the Hatfields and McCoys of teenage gangs. But there was another rivalry that was probably the worst of them all, and that was between the Sabers and the Slicksters, two gangs from Harlem in the mid to the late 1940s. These guys were extremely violent. On March 13, 1945, at about 1:30 p.m. on Edgecombe Avenue between West 135th Street and West 137th Street in the center of Harlem, patrolman L.G. Williams, who was in civilian clothes, saw a group of youths running north on Edgecombe, pursuing Anthony Buddy Davis. All of a sudden, Buddy stopped in his tracks, turned, pulled a gun out, and fired a shot at Alfonso Chansey, one of his pursuers. The patrolman chased Davis and overtook him 2 blocks later at West 140th Street, and when he searched him, he found a .32 caliber Harrington and Richardson pistol, which contained 3 loaded cartridges and 1 discharged shell. Buddy was arrested on the spot. In his report, the patrolman said that when he approached Buddy actually attempted to put his hand in his jacket pocket as though he were going to get the pistol out. But thankfully for everyone involved, the patrolman disarmed him immediately. The officer stated that when Buddy was questioned at the West 135th Street station house, he named the boy he shot at and another boy who was chasing him as allegedly having guns as well. So the police took them into custody, but they released them because they were found without any weapons. Obviously, they had time to ditch their weapons before they're detained. That is, if they even had any. Patrolman L.G. Williams said that Buddy was one of the leaders of the Sabers and they had been warring with the Slicksters for quite some time. Buddy was described as a short, stocky dullard who, as an illegitimate child and the product of a broken home, was reared amidst demoralizing conditions by an inadequate and financially harassed mother and aged grandmother without any male aid. Buddy admitted to the officer that he fired at the Slicksters because they are out to get me. And he wasn't wrong. They were chasing him down the street after all. Alfonso Chansey, the boy that Buddy shot at, he was 16 years old, and he admitted to the police that he was a member of the Slicksters. It's a good thing that Buddy missed him, because Alfonso had pretty bad luck. Because on January 3, 1946, Alfonso was shot in the buttocks by the Sabers and had to be confined to the Harlem hospital for 3 days. As for Buddy himself, he admitted that he was a member of the Sabers gang for about a year and a half, and that he had the pistol to protect himself from the Slicksters, as he had previously been threatened by members of this gang. He also added that when he was chased by the Slicksters, he fired the shot in order to ward them off. He bought the Harrington and Richardson .32 caliber pistol for $10 a month previously from a soldier on the street. Now, this wasn't Buddy's first run-in with the law. He was actively engaged in street gang battles in Harlem, which was actually getting to be a very serious problem for the police in the 40s. Here's an example. On June 6, 1944, he was caught with a loaded revolver and a dangerous knife, but his case was dismissed by the grand jury. In 1945, he said that on 2 separate occasions, on account of gang warfare, he was injured. The first injury was a stab to the right shoulder, and that happened on June 15, 1945. Then the very next day, June 16, he was shot in the back. He had to go to the Harlem hospital for that one. Buddy was asked to give his own statement for the crime, and in his own words, this is what he wrote. "I had a gun, and I broke the law, so I was arrested for have a gun." So as you can see, in just this story, you have 3 different injuries. You got the stab wound to the shoulder, you get someone shot in the buttocks, and you get someone shot in the back. The Slicksters and Sabers, they really hated each other. And there were actually several gang murders that happened between them in the mid-1940s. Eventually, both gangs disappeared from the scene, and by the time the mid-1950s came along, those gangs were but a distant memory. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate all your support, and I hope you have a great day.